Om Sri Lakshmi Narsimhaya Namaha. Valmiki Ramayana, Ayodhya Kanda, Chapter 42. Kausalya consoles King Dashratha. Summary. The dust raised by Rama's chariot having disappeared for a while, Dashratha feels dejected and fell insensible on ground. When Kaikeyi comes forward to support him, he scolds and asks her not to touch him. Kaushalya then lifts him up and persuades him to return to their house. His personal attendants take him to Kaushalya's apartment, and seeing him plunged in grief, Kaushalya seats herself beside him and began to lament in various ways. Chapter 42 in detail. As long as the dust raised by the wheels of Rama's chariot could be seen, so long did the king not withdraw his gaze from it. As long as the king was seeing his beloved son, who was exceedingly virtuous, so long did the dust in the earth appear to be rising for the purpose of seeing his son. When the dust raised by Rama's chariot was no longer visible, the unfortunate king, afflicted by dejection, fell insensible on ground. When Dashratha fell down, Kaushalya, his wife, took her place on his right side to lift him up, and Kaikeyi of charming limbs took her place on his left side. The king, endowed with wisdom, virtue, and discretion, seeing Kaikeyi beside him, said to her in great agitation as follows: "O wicked Kaikeyi, do not touch my limbs. I do not wish to see you. You are no longer my wife nor a relative. I am not of those who are dependent on you, nor are they anything to me. I discard you, by whom righteousness has been discarded, and who are solely interested in wickedness. All that contract while I entered into by taking your hand and circumambulating the sacred fire, I now renounce in this world and the next. If Bharata feels cheerful for having got this kingdom which is imperishable, let the obsequial rites performed to me after my death do not reach me." Meanwhile, Kaushalya, the queen, overwhelmed with grief, lifted up the king, who was covered with dust, and returned to her house. The virtuous monarch, thinking deeply of his son Rama, who was so desolate, as one who has slain a Brahmin intentionally, or as touching the fire by hand, turning and again towards the track of the chariot, the countenance of the king in grief lost its radiance like sun, losing its radiance when swallowed by Rahu. Afflicted by grief, thinking of his beloved son, he lamented. Knowing that his son reached the end of the city, he said as follows: "The marks of hoofs of excellent horses which carried away my child are seen on the way, but he, the great-souled one, is not being seen. He who slept on comfort on the coverings sprinkled with the essence of sandalwood and refreshed by fans waving over by him, by the most deserving woman, Rama, the best of all my sons, will from now on has to take refuge at the foot of a tree somewhere, lying down on its trunk or rest on a stone. The unfortunate one will wake up from the hard earth stained with dust, shining like a bull elephant rising from the side of a hill. From today, the inhabitants of the forest will behold that long-armed lord of the world, Rama, rising from the ground and wandering around like an orphan. The daughter of Janaka, who was always accustomed to customs, will wander exhausted in the forest through the thorny underground. Sita, who was not earlier accustomed to woodlands, from now on will live in terror, hearing the roaring sound of wild beasts which was thundering. O Kaikeyi, let your desire be fulfilled. Dwell in the kingdom as a widow. I do not indeed wish to survive without Rama, the tiger among men." Thus lamenting, the king, surrounded by his people, entered Ayodhya, the best of cities, like entering a disastrous house by one who has taken the funeral bath. Seeing the entire city, with its road junctions and mansions deserted, its shops and temples closed, with its people exhausted with fatigue and plunged into affliction, its highways not very crowded, the king entered his palace, wailing and thinking of Rama alone as the sun enters a cloud. Bereft of Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana, the palace looked like a big pool rendered unperturbed due to emptying of snakes in it by Garuda. The lamenting monarch spoke in a trembling accent and in soft, pitiful, indistinct, and not clearly intelligible words as follows: Take me quickly to the apartment of Kausalya, the mother of Rama. Nowhere else my heart will find solace. The attendants took the king, who was speaking as aforesaid, to Kausalya house, and there he was gently laid on a couch. Having entered Kaushalya's apartment, and even though laid on a couch, his heart became agitated. Bereft of his sons and his daughter in law, also having deserted, the king saw the house devoid of charm as a sky without a moon. Looking at that palace and lifting up his arm, the powerful monarch cried in a loud voice, O Rama, you have left us both, your mother and I. Alas, those jewels among men who will survive the term of 14 years, seeing Rama come back and embrace him, will be happy indeed. Thereupon, the night having fallen, the night resembling the hour of death to him, Darshatha spoke these words to Kaushalya when the midnight struck. O Kaushalya, my sight has extinguished along with Rama and not returned. Even now I am not able to see you properly. Touch me with your hand. Perceiving that monarch on the couch, absorbed in the thought of Rama alone, Kaushalya appeared very sad and sitting beside him began to sigh and lament with a distressed look. Thus completes 42nd chapter in Ayodhya Kanda of the glorious Ramayana of Valmiki, the work of a sage and the oldest epic. Sri Moola Rama Vijayate. Om Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.